Welcome to Candidates Forum 2014. This is a public affairs presentation of Derry Community Television. I'm Dave Nelson, your moderator. We're here to talk to candidates for town offices, and we're going to have a panel of questioners offering questions for the candidates to answer. At this point, I would like to sort of set the ground rules. Each candidate will be offered a 2-minute time for a pre-written opening statement. We will then go to a round robin of questions from our panel. And at the conclusion of the segment, we will have, again, 1-minute opportunity for closing statements. At this point, I would like to introduce our panel. We have with us Julie Huss from the Derry News, Stacey Bruzzese from the Greater Derry Londonderry Chamber of Commerce, and Kathy Bailey from the Nutfield News. Thank you for coming, ladies. Appreciate your assistance with today's event. The first segment is regarding the town council. And for those who maybe don't know, I have a short job description of the town council position to read to open this segment. The town council shall exercise all powers and duties as provided by state statute and the Constitution of New Hampshire. They are the governing and legislative power. The town council shall approve and regulate all fees and charges that may be made by any department or agency for the use of facilities or services in the town. The basic function of the town councilor is to legislate and make policy, not daily administration of town affairs. They review and approve the town budget, appoint board and commission members. The regular business meetings are held on the first and third Tuesday of each month at 7:30 p.m., often with a non-public sector meeting held either prior or after. Additional special meetings and workshops may be held and are announced in advance. At this point, I would like to introduce the candidates who are here, as well as one who has a pre-recorded opening statement. We have with us in studio Mark Flathase and David Fisher. And with this, in a pre-recorded statement, is Joshua Borden. And so at this point, we would like to go and play for you Joshua's pre-recorded opening statement.
Hello, my name is Joshua Borden. Almost 3 years ago, my wife Leah and I chose to move here and start a family. We chose Derry for its strong education, its convenient location, and its rich history. After being here for only a short time, it became clear to me that I wanted to make a difference in my community. Over the past several months, I have met with and spoke with many people, all asking for the very same basic principles. They want their voices heard. They want their leaders focused on solving problems and working together. I completely agree, and that's what I plan to do. I plan to be very careful and respectful with the taxpayers' money. I will avoid needless and careless spending and promise to only focus on projects where the return on investment is highest. I also understand and believe that Derry needs to move forward with the search and hiring of a town administrator. We need a person who is worthy and well qualified. A person who will respect the duties and responsibilities of this office. Lastly, I want to assure everyone right here and now that I am ready and excited for this opportunity. I represent a fresh perspective and a new voice. I promise to be available, and I promise to always listen. Please come out on March 11th and cast your vote for Joshua Borden for Town Councilor at Large. Thank you, and have a great day.
Well, thank you, Joshua, for your taped statement. We appreciate you taking the time to give that to us. We're now back in the studios, and by previous agreement, we will start with a 2-minute opening statement from David Fisher.
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to share some information about my background and why I am running for Town Council. Sue and I moved to Derry in May 2012 because we liked the small town feel and found a home that we really love. We have 5 children between us and 2 grandchildren. I am a retired educator, previously holding positions as a high school English teacher, a middle school guidance counselor, a high school assistant principal, a high school principal, an assistant superintendent, and superintendent of schools. I spent most of my 36-year career in New York State, but moved to New England in 2008 for a job opportunity as a school superintendent. The management and leadership skills that I developed as a school administrator would contribute to my overall effectiveness as a member of the town council. Specific strengths that I bring to this position include human relations, strategic planning, labor relations, and problem-solving skills, and an extensive background in budget management. As a member of the town council, my top priorities would be: 1, to hire a new, highly capable and dedicated town administrator, to keep our community a safe and clean place to live, fiscal responsibility, to revitalize the downtown area, and to promote economic development that would positively impact our community. Experience has taught me that in order to be an effective leader and team player, I must rely on the strengths and support of others. With that said, please know that as a member of the town council, I will strive to work collaboratively with other town officials to benefit our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. And now we'll go to Mark for his 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you for allowing me into your home today. My name is Mark Flattez. I'm running for the position of District 3 Town Councilor. A little bit of history on myself. I have over 10 years of managerial experience working for a large retail corporation. I have a bachelor's degree in environmental policy, law, and management. I have also attended college for fire prevention, arson investigation. The reason why I am running for town council is to promote the intelligent decision-making, transparency in our government, as well as sustainable development. I believe those 3 areas are key to lowering our taxes and making our community more affordable for our residents that are here now and our future residents. I believe in working to bring commerce into the community and improving the growth and the development of our community for future generations. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your opening statements. We'll now go to questions from our panel, and we'll take them in a round-robin fashion. And unless otherwise specified, questions will be for both candidates. So we'll start with a question from Julie Huss, and we'll start with an answer from David.
Okay, well, first of all, gentlemen, good for you for running for office. I know Mark has been a fixture at many town council meetings lately, and I know that the current council has often quite divided and fractured on many issues, and personalities seem to be bouncing off each other quite a bit lately. I know you kind of stressed a little bit about your personal characteristics, but what other strengths about your personality could you bring to this council to foster more respect and cohesiveness?
Well, I think it's healthy for a council to come in to offer various viewpoints on any particular issue. I also think it's equally important to conduct yourself in a civil fashion so that you're actively listening to each other. I think that the goal ultimately should be that after considerable discussion and listening, that you could come to agreement that would be a unified front on behalf of what's best for the community.
Thank you, David. And Mark?
Well, I believe that there have been problems in the council in the past with getting along and developing a working relationship. And I believe that by having a new council members up there, this relationship will improve. It's definitely going to change, and I think it's going to change for the better. What I can bring to it is understanding both sides of the story, in making a fair and equitable decision.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next question comes from Stacy.
My question is regarding the new town administrator. You mentioned in your opening statement, David, that that was one of your goals, to make sure that that position was filled. And as a Chamber of Commerce representative, I would love to see that happen sooner rather than later. So I guess I'm asking you both how you might help facilitate that process and move it along as it's been vacant for several months now.
Thank you, Stacy, and this time starting with Mark.
I currently, I understand the importance of a new town administrator, but right now what's more important to me is the voice of the people being heard, and I believe that a town administrator is more of a door with blocking the voice of the people. I want the people to come up and talk to me. I want a town administrator that, if I'm looking at a town administrator, that says, how may I help you? Not one that wants to dictate or lay down the law as we've had in the past. I want one who is very fiscal responsible and who believes in the growth and the development of our community. We have a lot of great resources here within our community and a lot of great people, and we can use this as he can use this as a tool of empowerment to foster the growth and development. Thank you.
I think that one of the most important decisions that the town council will make is the selection of the town administrator, because I think that the town administrator serves as a key leadership position in the town. That person is responsible for making sure that the town council members have all of the relevant information necessary to make a decision, to keep the town council members informed about important background information related to each and every agenda item, and to help facilitate with the town council the agenda for each and every meeting. So I think the town council, the town administrator plays a key role, and I do think it's one of the most important decisions the town council will make.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. And now we'll go to Kathy for a question.
How involved do you think the public should be in the negotiation of contracts?
I think the public should be involved with negotiations of every all the contracts. Okay, I believe the people have a voice, and their voice should be heard and recognized.
I think that the reason that people elect town council members is because they believe that they will truly be representative of the people. And I think it's very important that when it comes to negotiations, that the town council members are well informed about what similar contracts, similar positions in surrounding towns with similar socioeconomic status, what a fair wage is, what fair compensation is, and benefits are. I think the town council should be well informed in terms of where our negotiations are and where our employees stand with regard to compensation and benefits, because I think it's that the employees in this town are key resources in terms of the quality of life that we expect and want as residents in this community.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we're back to Julie for her second question.
I know the current town council has been working on a lot of their goal-setting issues, and they've named economic development as one of their key issues that they want to work on. And I know this has been going on many, many years, and the town has done many, many things to work on that. Would you support hiring a town economic director, a paid position to kind of oversee where the town is heading in its economic development?
Let's start with David this time. So, thanks.
I think that since economic development is a very complex issue, there's no quick fix solutions to economic development in a town. I've read a number of articles that have appeared in the local paper about this particular topic. There's been a number of different kinds of outside resources and experts to advise the town council with regard to economic development. So I do think it's important to carefully consider the feedback that you've received already in terms of strategies for developing our economy, but I also think it's important to continue to search and to seek outside resources that have proven to be effective in terms of developing economic development in our community, and that we should take advantage of those resources.
Thank you.
I do not believe at this time we should hire anybody for that position. I think right now we need to state our objectives, work with the internal people that we have to achieve that goal. I believe it is achievable. It is an achievable objective. Doing it internally for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And back to Stacy.
My next question actually is a little bit more clarification on Julie's question, because I feel that economic development is very necessary in Derry. We have a town planner who does a fantastic job in terms of the planning and the research that goes into determining what types of things are going to be good for the town. But I've also seen in other communities when they have someone on the front lines, whether their title is Economic Development Director or Community Development Director, that they become the face and really get to know the businesses that are here currently, as well as individuals and or corporations who may be considering a move, and that they really can offer much more by way of public relations and just helping to facilitate questions and processes and all of that kind of thing that really a town planner doesn't have time to do. So that being said, I'd like to hear a little bit more from you about how, if you are not supporting bringing someone into a role like this and being down a town administrator, there's really nobody left to be that person, to be that frontline person and help businesses make that decision whether this town is a good fit for them or not. You mentioned I'd like to use the resources, in particular, Mark, I'm looking at you. I'd like to use the resources we already have. What resources do you see that we have that will help growth in our economy, bringing those businesses in the door?
This one's obviously for Mark.
Okay. I believe that by redeveloping our town website, making it more user-friendly, I also believe by using things that we have, such as Channel 17 or Channel 23, will also foster growth. I also believe by working with the Chamber will foster growth, as well as several of the businesses within the community. It is important to eventually have somebody that does that specific department, but I believe a new town administrator can fall right into that role. He is going to be the voice of the town, so he is going to be directly involved with economic development. So I don't see a need for that position, whereas I have the town administrator who can serve in that role when we do hire one.
Thank you, Mark. And on to Kathy.
Okay, and I am going to play off of both Julie's and Stacy's questions.
Wow.
Yeah, we love economic development. And my question is, how involved should the council be in economic development? And how involved should the town be? Should the town be buying property with the hope of developing it? Or should the town not be in the real estate business per se?
And we'll start with Mark.
We're not in the real estate business at the town. I mean, buying real estate with the idea that we can eventually sell it for later is misuse of taxpayers' dollars. At that point, we might as well go out and buy lottery tickets, and maybe we can win that too. It is complete misuse. Now, if we're buying property with an intended infrastructure improvement and a planned infrastructure improvement, that's completely something different. But as far as buying property, just to buy property in hopes that somebody else is going to buy it, no, we do not do that. I'd be dead set against it.
David?
I believe that the topic that you're talking about, which is economic development, is something that cannot be done part-time or cannot be delegated to other people who have multiple responsibilities. We need to take a look at the efforts that we have tried so far in the town. We need to learn from those experiences, and we need to take a new direction that is going to bring about the desired economic development that we're looking for.
Thank you. And so now we are back to Julie.
I guess I would like to ask both of you concerning the downtown area. What sort of development could you see happening down there to make the downtown prosper? There have been, again, many plans and ideas in the pipeline over many, many years for Abbott Court and other areas. What do you see happening in the future that could possibly help Broadway grow?
Okay, let's start with David.
I do not have a tremendous amount of experience in terms of what you could do specifically to revitalize the downtown area. I have been in towns where they have encouraged businesses that have come there. They have redesigned the landscaping. They have made sure that there's safety features in terms of lights, in terms of its appeal and attractiveness. But again, what I would strongly recommend is that we take a look at the efforts that have already taken place to learn what does work and does not work. And again, we need to turn to resources and people and perhaps neighboring communities that have achieved success in this area and learn from their experience and implement some ideas that have already been successful in terms of revitalizing downtown areas.
As far as the downtown goes, which has been a subject of debate for many years, there are ways in which we can look at doing improvements, and some of these improvements can vary from everything, such as he said, to lighting, parking, all types of things. The important thing is to work with the community leaders, the community, and the chambers and real estate people to bring the business into the community. We can do it. As far as the motif or the curb appeal, we will see. We will go down that road. We can have success in it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Stacy, next question.
Thanks. I, for one, would love to see the downtown bustling with many new businesses. I know that one of the biggest challenges has been with a lot of the empty storefronts, it's been the absentee landlords. People who don't live in this community, who are not otherwise tied to this community except for the fact that they own property. Would either of you be in favor of or pursue vehicles to help end that absentee landlordism, I guess I would call it? Blight ordinances, for example, with a lot of the buildings that are, quite honestly, not only unappealing to the eye, but hazardous to to the area in terms of structurally unsound for some of them, others just inhabitable because they're or unusable in their current state, and some of these landlords are refusing to make repairs and bring them up to code. Share your thoughts on that, please.
Start with Mark.
There are several avenues which can be taken. The first avenue is to meet and to speak with these absentee landlords and see what plans they have, see what ideas they have. You're right. There's things such as ordinances and codes and so on, and we have departments that handle those. And as far as the enforcement of that goes, they also handle that, and we'll work together all to achieve the goal of rebuilding the community. Go ahead, David.
I think it's important to identify what has been successful in area towns where they do have a revitalized downtown area, and to learn from their experience and learn what has been successful. I do think it's important to understand why these buildings are vacant, why people have moved, and what the reason is why they would not open the business again for the community. And it certainly would need to be profitable and appealing for those property owners.
Thank you. And we'll go to Kathy for her next question.
Do you believe that the process of selecting a town administrator should be done by the council, or should it be delegated to an outside search firm?
I believe the process of hiring a new town administrator should be left to the town council and to the residents of the town of Derry. I think the residents, we should form a resident panel where the residents are entitled to put their input in, as well as to what they would like to see in a new town administrator, as well as the town council. And when parties are selected, I would like one resident, or two, or three, to be up there on a panel with the town councilors to determine that person's qualification.
I believe that the town council has the responsibility to hire the town administrator, but I do not believe that the town council should be the primary group in terms of doing the search. I think we should hire an outside company whose expertise it is to hire the best possible town administrator, because the money spent on that search is going to be saved in the long run, because we have been able to attract and retain, hopefully, a top-notch administrator who has a great deal of experience and is dedicated to the position. I think that people dabbling in areas where they don't have expertise is not good for, especially the residents of the town of Derry.
Okay. Thank you. And Julie, next question, please.
As I am not a Derry taxpayer, but I know that the Derry tax rate, as many, many other towns, struggle with a very high tax rate. And budget season is approaching, and you two, or whoever will be elected, will be part of that process. And last year, I remember there was a lot of passion for certain budget cuts that were proposed, including the Taylor Library, possible closure of the Taylor Library. Are you willing to make those hard choices again this year if they rear their heads during budget season? And second part of the question, where in the town departments, where do you think there are savings that could be made?
Okay. Let's start with Mark this time.
Good. Begin with, if a hard decision has to be made within every budget season, there's always going to be hard decisions. The decisions will be made. As far as services that are going to be cut and so on, I'm not going to comment on that right now. I have not seen the budget. Okay. And did I answer everything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, the development of the town budget is an extremely important process, and I believe that it should be a year-long process, and I think that one of the goals of the budget process is that the residents of the community certainly would expect is that it would be efficient and effective in terms of the process. I also think it's important to be transparent in the process. We need to look at revenues, we need to look at expenditures, and we need to be able to compare those expenditures to the services that we provide to see whether or not those services are comparable, again, to other towns in the community. So it is a very complex issue and something that requires a great attention to detail. It requires a highly competent town administrator to work with all the members of town council and other town officials so that we can be absolutely efficient and effective in terms of the budget process. Do I know what areas need to be cut? No, I do not. It would require a great deal more research, and I would need to carefully review every line of the budget before I would make that type of decision.
Thank you. Stacy, next question.
In order to facilitate economic development in our area and bring businesses in, whether it's from another state or across the country, some items in our current infrastructure need to be addressed. For example, the I-93 project that is ongoing, and the completion of that project, which it currently is not funded through DOT the way it stands, unless they raise some additional funds. And some of that responsibility, I believe, is going to end up falling to the towns if they want to, for example, if exit 4A, if we move forward with that new exit. Other infrastructure items, of course, too, that have been talked about, bringing in water, town water, whether it's from Salem or elsewhere in the area. How do you feel about those challenging items as far as infrastructure, and what would you propose to help strengthen our infrastructure locally so that we are more attractive to companies and businesses considering relocation?
Let's start with David.
In answer to your question, again, you're talking about economic development, and one of the questions that I would raise as a new member of the town council is in terms of where this falls on the overall master plan. I don't know when there was a needs assessment done by the town to identify the needs and priorities of the town, but I think it's important to revisit that plan to see where the economic development stands in terms of the priorities, and to see how the resources are aligned to those various priorities in the master plan. Yes, I think economic development is extremely important, but I also don't know at what cost in terms of the infrastructure expenses you talked about, and whether or not the town can afford that in light of whatever the other top priorities are in the master plan. So I think they need to be discussed together with the other items of the master plan and determine whether or not the needs and priorities that have been identified in the past, are they current?
Growth and development and infrastructure improvements are very important. However, they must be done cost effectively. Okay? And they must be done with a benefit to the community as a whole. So as far as how much or when or what infrastructure improvements, I believe at this point in time, they just completed one infrastructure improvement, correct? Bringing water on the other side of town. I forget that street name off the top of my head. But that was done to benefit the community. And I believe all infrastructure improvements will be weighed and, under the belief, or at least by me, that they will be cost-effective and benefit everybody. So.
Thank you. And Kathy, next question.
Would you consider adopting a different form of town government in order to retain greater control over the school budget?
Okay, we can start with Mark on that one.
The schools or the school budget has always been a subject of debate in the community because it is such a large part of our overall taxes. I believe that we could develop a working relationship within the schools, in the community, to lower our taxes. I'm not going to get into whether we need to change government, only because I have not read up on it enough to feel as though I can make a sound decision at this point.
I've had experience as a superintendent where the school budget was separate from the town, and also experience as a superintendent in a district where it was combined with the town. There's no question in my mind that the separate nature of the budget for the school certainly is, I think, in the best interest of everybody in the community. And the reason I believe that is because there are separate values, beliefs, and priorities when it comes to the educational system. And I think that those needs and priorities need to have their own focus in terms of the tax rate. I can tell you up front that I am very biased towards education based on my background, but I also believe that the school system needs to be fiscally responsible, efficient, and effective as well.
Thank you. And back to Julie for the next question.
If you were going to describe the town of Derry, if you were going to create a pamphlet or something that you were going to provide to a potential business coming to town, I'd just like to know, how would you describe the town of Derry to someone that was interested in coming here to conduct a business and be part of the community?
Derry is a community with a great amount of history, as well as a community with a large amount of resources. I would describe Derry as a fun place to come, a place to come and take in the arts, the history, and work to bring those and to highlight those types of events, to highlight the positive in which we have in our community.
I moved to Derry because I said before that it has a small town feel, and I still believe that it has a small town feel. I've been very impressed with the people that I've been able to get to know in the community. It's been a very welcoming, positive, inviting place. Our grandchildren come here each and every year, a couple times a year, to take advantage of Billy's, to take advantage of Moo Place, to take advantage of the water in the ballpark. So there's a lot of resources and places that we enjoy in the town of Derry. So.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll take one more round of questions, and then we'll go to our closing statements. And so the last question, honor, goes to Stacy.
Thank you. I think education is very important, and whether you're talking about the budget or the quality of our schools, because the students that are there today are the business leaders and town leaders of tomorrow. And that being said, we're lucky enough to live in an area of the country where we have fantastic schools and very good higher educational institutions. Unfortunately, many of those students who are going to school here end up leaving our area. And we're losing young professionals and essentially our talent pool. How involved do you feel the town council and the town of Derry in general should be in helping to foster retention of young talent and attracting young professionals?
Okay, and we'll start with Mark on that one.
Well, community development is all about that. It's all about retention. That's the thing. One of the things and one of the goals of retention would be to go to them and ask them what they see, possibly. How do they view the town? They view the town differently than us. Mm-hmm. And it'd be great to have their input as to how they see the town. You know, as weird as that sounds, I believe that what they want should be recognized, what they see. And I think it's going to be ways of achieving that is going to be talking to them and working our way through it. Some of the things are going to be bringing in commerce, improved commerce, business, lower taxes so that it's affordable. I mean, we definitely have to lower that so that they stay. The tax rate's too high. Okay? Good, Dave.
I believe that hiring the best possible person for a job should always be the expectation that we have when hiring. But I also believe that when given candidates that are equal in terms of background and qualifications, we certainly would want to look to hire students that have been raised in the Derry community. I think that's very important because there's a lot to be said for ownership in terms of community when you have community residents. And I have had the fortunate experience of working in the Pinkerton schools as a substitute teacher, and I was very, very impressed with the number of teachers who have returned to this area because they grew up in this area. So I think there's a lot to be said for those who live in this community, those who understand and appreciate this community, and those who want to continue to live in this community. So I think that they would be the greatest ambassadors for encouraging others to return after graduation and return to their community.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll now go to our closing statements, and we'll go in the opposite order. Closing statements are 1 minute, and we'll start with Mark.
Once again, thank you for allowing me into your home today. My name is Mark Flatus. I'm running for the town council. I believe I can provide benefits such as intelligent decision-making process, transparency in government, and sustainable growth and development of our community for future generations. And I thank you very much, and I look forward to answering any questions that any of you may have out there. Thank you.
Okay. I would like all District 3 residents to carefully consider me as their representative on the Derry Town Council. Please know that I will dedicate my time, energy, and expertise to make and keep our community a positive and productive place to live. Please remember to get out and vote on March 11th at Pinkerton Academy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You are watching Candidates Forum 2014. This is a public affairs presentation of Derry Community Television. We are going to take a short station break. Please take advantage of watching all of the candidate names for all of the offices that are coming up in the March election on the slides that scroll by. Please stay tuned, and we will be back with candidates for other town offices right after the break. Welcome back to the second segment of Candidates Forum 2014. This is a public affairs presentation of Derry Community Television. In this segment, we have candidates for other town offices, and we will introduce them in a moment. We have the same panel of questioners with us, and in the first of the offices, we're going to talk about folks running for library trustee. We have with us in the studio James Thomas, and we have a pre-recorded opening statement from Lynn Mann, who is also running for library trustee position. And so we will use the same ground rules as we used in the last segment, which is 2 minutes for opening statements. Then we'll have a round of questions from our panel, and then 1 minute for a closing statement. And we will first actually explain to folks at home what a library trustee does. The library trustee is the governing board of the library. They have custody and management of the library. They adopt bylaws, rules, and regulations, review, modify, and approve the annual budget, receive, invest, administer trust funds and donations, apply for, accept, and expend unanticipated money and personal property, expend all money received, raised, and appropriated for library purposes, deposit library funds for purchase of books and materials, receive no compensation for services rendered as trustee, appoint the library director and employees, discharge or remove any employee when that's necessary, hear appeals from employees and users of the library, review performance of the library director, and file written reports with the town and state. And so first on our docket is a pre-recorded opening statement from Lynn Mann, which we will watch now.
Hello, my name is Lynn Mann. I'm running for a position on the Board of Trustees for the Derry Public Library. I have been a resident of Derry for 37 years. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Lowell Technological Institute. My work experience has been 23 years in research and 4 years in quality as a quality analyst. I retired in 2001. About 3 years after that, I became a page for the Derry Public Library. I worked there for 8.5 years. I left in 2012 so that I could spend more time with my husband, who is retired, and my animals. For hobbies, I enjoy reading, sewing, quilting, horseback riding, taking care of my animals, and walking. Qualifications, my work experience at the Derry Public Library gave me an understanding of the operations of the library. I'm familiar with its strengths, the resources used by patrons, it's the abilities of the library to meet the needs of the patrons. I'm organized and analytical, which is very important for a library employee. I'm familiar with the operations of the library and the roles the employees play in the daily operation. I was a member of my church's library committee. Objectives would be to support the outstanding programs of the youth and the phenomenal programs in the children's room. I would listen to patrons and staff and help them to meet their needs. I would help provide thoughtful leadership to the library and encourage streamlining of efforts where warranted. Thank you for your time. Vote for me.
All right, thank you very much, Lynn, for your recorded statement. And we are now here in the studio with James Thomas, who is also running for library trustee. So would you like to give us your 2-minute opening statement?
Yes. My name is James Thomas. I live at 3L Morningside Drive here in Derry, of course. I'm running for one of the open trustee slots, basically because I wanted to become more involved with the town somehow, and I felt that would be the best way for me to do it. I have many years worked at a library, and I have the hands-on experience. I understand just how hard the employees in the administration works every day to provide quality services. And, I think I can add to the fine work that they and the Board of Trustees already does. I understand the budgeting process and how important it is to be fiscally responsible so that you can maintain the services. And I've also had the unfortunate experience of what can happen if the library is not properly funded or if funds are cut in certain areas. I basically want to be an advocate for the team at the library, be it the Board of Trustees, the management, the employees, the patrons, a strong advocate to stay ahead with the technology needed to stay relevant, with the fine programming to keep consistently offering it like the library already does. And also to just, I really wanted to become a part of the planning for the future of the library. I think they already do a fantastic job with a limited footprint space and limited parking. And, the products and services for every member of the community that they already put out is fantastic, but I would just like to be part of the team that brings them into the future. There's been some very exciting things that are happening at the library. I'm a very frequent user. I know there's the director search is quite a ongoing event, and I would have loved to have been part of that, but I would certainly like to be part of that in the future to see not only how the director is going to how the director's going to do and what they're going to bring to the table, but also to be a part of the team that helps move the her or his agenda forward in the future. And that's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And now we'll return to our panelists. And the first question comes from Julie.
I can't decide what to ask you. So I'll keep going with the library director. What are the strongest qualities a library director should have in this day and age, with the library going through so many morphing changes through the decades and just kind of reinventing itself over and over to keep up? So what makes the perfect library director today?
That's an interesting question. I'm not going to ask anyone how old they are, but I'm sure most of us in this room right now, when we think of the librarian, it was the stern shh, in the bulky card catalog and the handwritten library card. And, the library has just advanced so much. A good director would have, of course, the interpersonal skills, know how to attract and hire and keep good employees, realize, like you said, that the libraries are just moving, ahead so quickly. How do you get the funding to stay current and ahead with technology, stay ahead of the curve? How do you address the needs of each diverse population or segment, whether it's a person that's coming in to look for a job, whether it's a person that needs help with their homework, whether it's the person who just wants to come and browse through the printed material or play a game. And the director, has to, I believe, set the pace for, what's the mission, what are the goals, how are we going to achieve them, and then, of course, be able to work with all the folks in town that want something different and expect it from their library that usually does a really good job in providing that.
Great, thank you. And next question from Stacy.
Great. James, obviously we all know technology has changed a lot in the past 20 years, and it's changed the way that the public is using the libraries. So what more do you feel can be done in terms of programming and materials, et cetera, to encourage use and visitation of the library?
Once again, that's a great question. You see folks now with the Kindles and the handheld technology, and some of the libraries actually have them now. Instead of going to borrow a book, which I still like the feel of a good book, folks want to have the ability to download that material. That can all happen. That should happen, but also, the current setup of the library, there's limited access to computers. Let's face it, you only have so many. You buy one and it's almost obsolete. So those are the things, one of the things I would like to see, if possible, is an expansion of the internet area more computers, more workstations, more downloadable and audio materials. I got that out. And just what they're doing now is making the best use out of their limited amount of space. And once again, the funding, how do you continuously fund those things that everyone wants, the wish list?
Thank you.
And next question from Kathy.
Do you see a future for the book?
Oh, I hope so. There's nothing like the feel of a good book, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. But I think a challenge for any place, like a library, will be how do we use a limited amount of space to get the most material to our patrons? And unfortunately, that will come at the cost of maybe we only have one copy of this book where we used to have 20, or maybe we're going to lose the ability to keep our archive of newspapers or magazines, to make space for other. But I don't think the book is ever going away.
Great, thank you. Does the panel have any follow-up questions?
I have one more question.
Okay.
How closely should libraries work with local schools and educational institutions to help foster a love for reading at an early age?
I think they should work very closely. There's some programs, Success by Six and others that, they advocate for reading and things, but the library should be front and center. I think even, with schools that have their own libraries, how can we help you? What do you have that we might not have? And vice versa. The younger that we can get folks interested in reading and accessing the library, the better. And I just think it's important to, whether we have folks, going into the schools to read, whether, we encourage, a field trip, to the library, anything like that, that can get folks interested, I think is a good thing. We should work very closely.
Okay, thank you. And now, James, we'd like to give you an opportunity for a 1-minute closing statement.
Once again, would really like the opportunity, and I'm asking for your vote for a trustee, one of the trustee slots. I do have the hands-on experience. I'd be a strong advocate for the library, management, patrons, employees, and I would look forward to working hard, for the town to make sure that the library stays a very vibrant and funded and relevant community resource. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, James. And next, we're talking with candidates for town moderator. We have with us Margaret Ives. And for those who don't have it on the tip of your tongue, the town moderator's job is the chief election officer in charge of polling locations, making sure election officials are available on election day, the appointment of assistant moderators for multiple polling locations, ensure proper postings are posted and clearly visible to the public, certify that all electronic ballot counting devices have been tested and passed, receive and verify all ballots received at polling locations, monitor ballots placed in the voting machines, assist voters with accessible voting system, process absentee ballots, verify all cast ballots and hand counts are removed from the voting machine, verifies the totals at the end of election day via machine and hand count, and finally declaring the election, the winner of the election. And so, Margaret, would you like to start with a 2-minute opening statement?
Sure. Margaret Ives, and I live at Forefield Road, and I am running for town moderator. The election, as I'm sure you all have it on your calendar, is March 11. So turn out to vote. The polls open at 7 and they close at 8. The moderator does oversee the election. I recruit a good team to work with me. There will be assistant moderators at each polling location. They stand by the machine. You, the voter, put the ballot into the machine. The machine tallies the votes. We do process absentee ballots starting around 1 p.m. At the end of the evening, the moderators close the machine. We run the tallies, and then I assemble a team to count any write-ins, and of course those are added, and then we announce the results. I work with a good team. I work with the supervisors of the checklist and the town clerk. So remember to vote on March 11.
Right. Thank you very much, Margaret. And we'll return to our panel for questions for Margaret, starting with Julie.
Margie, I seem to only see you at the ballot, counting ballots and things, and I know that there is a huge list of things you do behind the scenes all year long. I'd just like to know what part of your job is the most exciting for you, and what part of your job frustrates you the most?
Okay. The most exciting part of the job is voting day. There is really a big thrill in watching people come in to vote. And I will never forget an election where there were two people with a woman who had come in. They were from Romania, and they were watching our voting process. We have a wonderful voting process, which is why we all need to take advantage of it. That, for me, is the thrill. It's wonderful. Julie, I really can't think of what's frustrating. The machines are wonderful, makes the job more easy than counting manual ballots, because I've been here long enough to know when I was helping the previous moderator and we didn't have the machines and we counted all the ballots manually. Now it's mostly done by the machine. If we still had a large manual count, that might be frustrating, but it's not.
Thank you.
Next question from Stacy.
Sure. With everyone's schedules being what they are these days, everyone busy, a lot of people working outside of the immediate area, have you seen an increase in the number of absentee ballots being turned in? And if so, how has that impacted what you and the assistant moderators need to do?
I can't say I've seen an increase in the number of absentee ballots. I do think because we are a commuting town, people really need to think through when they are going to vote. Because actually this is a town election, a town and school election. The voter turnout won't be nearly as high as it will be in the fall. Mm-hmm. In the fall, we'll have 2 other elections coming up. I hope I'm surprised this year. I hope there's a good turnout. Absentee ballots are a way to vote if you can't get to the polls during the day. So if you think you're going to have a problem, or, hey, we've had a long winter, who knows what's going to happen on March 11? If you think there's going to be another snowstorm, get in there and get your absentee ballot. The absentee ballots are processed very carefully. So I don't really think there's been an increase.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And next question from Kathy.
Margaret, do you think that the current 3 polling places are adequate, or would you like to see it expanded to a 4th?
I think the 3 are fine, because Pinkerton can accommodate 2 districts very easily. The parking at Hood is not a problem. There's easy access in and out. And with Calvary Baptist Church opening its facility for us for the past few years, people can get in and out of that parking lot quite easily also. For a presidential, we do count on having some people helping us with the traffic. For the town election, no problem. I think 3 is fine.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions from the panel? All right, great. Thank you, Margaret. We're now going to move on to the next position, that of trustee of trust funds. And we have 3 candidates with us in studio, and I'll start with the job description of trustee of trust funds. Invest and account for funds under their supervision in accordance with state law. Review and manage trust portfolios assigned to the town with an advisor. Select investment advisor and monitor the results produced by that advisor. Direct the holder of funds to release them to the town after the council approves. Review and or modify the investment policy from time to time, and to meet quarterly. And so we have with us Renee, Janet, and Lorraine.
We're supervisors of the checklist.
You're supervisors of the checklist. Okay. We don't have any folks here from the trustee of trust funds. All right.
No.
So let's move on to the next job description. Supervisors of the checklist. They maintain the HAVA database, and you'll have to tell me what that stands for when you get a chance. Overview of training provided by the Secretary of State's office, high level of data entry, keep updated on election law pertaining to voter registration, approve voter registration and send letters, prepare voter checklists for Election Day, post-election and enter votes into voter history, and enter new registrations, balance voters to election tallies, and sessions can be weekly, monthly, or as scheduled by law. So we have with us, would you like to introduce yourself, ladies?
I'm Lorraine Murthier. I live at 2 7th Street in Derry, New Hampshire, and I'm running for supervisor of the checklist. I was sworn in July 1st to replace my husband, who was the supervisor, and he passed away in June. So I was sworn in July 1st to replace him. And I've been to the training in Concord. I'm very comfortable with the work, and I would like to continue to be able to do the next 4 years that are still in my husband's name. And I would like to say that I've been working at the polls since 1952, when we were all volunteers at the time. And of course, Derry has changed a lot since then. We now have 20,115 voters on the list, and that changes weekly. Some leave Derry and some come into Derry. And I would like everybody to get out to vote, because we are very fortunate in this country to be able to vote, and it is an honor for everybody to get out to give their votes. And when you do, I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yep, go ahead.
My name is Janet Buggett. I live at 3 Sarah Lane. I'm a homemaker and a mom of 3, and as such I realize how important it is to get out that vote so we can make a good future for our children. I love history. I'm a genealogist, and I'm continuing in a long line of military and public service minded family members, and I'm thrilled to throw my hat in the ring for the first time. And we do well in the presidential elections. Our last election we had 88% turnout. I would love to see that a little bit higher, and as been stated by other individuals, I'd like to do better to encourage people to come out for the local elections and find out how we can encourage those who don't want to come in and vote to come in and vote. They're not interested, they're too busy. I'd like to be able to find ways to encourage those people to come in. And there is a close correlation between registering and voting, and I'd like to see that continue, and I'm proud that New Hampshire does so well with turning out to vote, and I hope people come out and vote for the candidate of their choice in all the offices.
Great, thank you. And finally?
Hello, my name is Renee Ruthier. I'm currently chairman supervisor of the checklist. I was born and raised in Derry. Basically, the reason that I'd like your vote is because I absolutely love what I do. As a supervisor of the checklist, there's so much more to it than people realize. There's more than the 13 hours that you sit at the polls and solve the problems and make sure everyone can vote. There's recruiting and training of your employees, the people that help you do the registering. There's the registrations and changes that go on a daily basis. There is just so much more to it than anyone realizes, and each and every part of it is detailed and expressly important how much accuracy there is. And I believe that I can carry that out, and I have carried it out for the last 5.5 years. I was actually appointed 2 weeks before the presidential primary in 2008, when one of the supervisors had to resign due to medical reasons. So I jumped right into the fire at that point. I had been an assistant prior to that, so I was knowledgeable and had had the training, and I've developed a number of different spreadsheets and such that different people have asked for different numbers and such, and I've designed some spreadsheets that say exactly how many people we need at an election and what letters they're going to have, the ballot clerks will have, and so on. And to wrap it up, I really love what I do, and I'd like your vote, and I'd like to continue doing it.
Great. Thank you, candidates. We'll now go for a round of questions from our panel, starting with Julie.
I guess a few of you will probably be able to answer this. Renee and Lorraine better maybe than Janet, but Janet's thoughts also, if you are elected, how has the voter ID process worked so far in Derry? Your first, foray into that world, during the last few elections or whatever. How has that gone, and what are your thoughts about that? People have been pretty cooperative.
Let's start with Renee and then go down the line.
Certainly. I assume you're saying the voter ID that they need to present in order to register.
Yes, how difficult,
Yes.
did that work smoothly? Was that
It actually works extremely smoothly because people need a photo ID and proof of domicile. So many people have a standard work ID that can be accepted as a photo ID, as well as their license that can be accepted as their domicile ID. It makes it even easier. And there are affidavits if people don't have the IDs that they need. They have affidavits that they need to swear to under penalty of perjury that they are who they are and they live where they live and so on, and we can accept that as well. That those affidavits make it so that if people want to vote, they can register and vote.
Thank you, Renee. And Janet?
I have helped out at the polls for a few of the elections, and I found that having the ID and proving who you are was not an issue usually. I mean, occasionally people would have to run back to their car to grab their documentation. But as Renee stated, there are ways around it if they don't have it with them. And I found it was quite a smooth process.
Thank you, Janet. And Lorraine?
I haven't found it a problem. People are cooperative, and if they forget, they go out to the car to get the registration. And I've worked at the polls since 1952, and things have changed a lot in Derry. But that was when everybody was a volunteer also. Now everybody's paid.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And next question from Stacy.
Sure, thank you. How important is voting day registration at the place of the polls and getting a good turnout on voting day? And do any of you have any other ideas on how to encourage turnout, things that could be done that would encourage people to come out and vote?
And we'll start with Janet this time.
Well, in terms of encouraging people to come out, I've given a little bit of thought, and possibly maybe on some Saturday we could open up registrations for those people who can't come to the town hall during the week because of work schedules. I'm sorry, I forgot the other question.
The other part of the question was, in the last election, they were allowing you to register same day at the polling stations to vote. And do you feel that that was helpful in getting people there?
Absolutely. As I said earlier, we had an 88% turnout for the presidential election, and there was a lot of new voters. I helped half the morning to register new voters, or half the day, I should say, and it was quite a long line, but I think it encouraged a lot of people to come out who might not have otherwise come out.
Okay. Thank you, Janet. And Lorraine?
There are Saturday times that they can come and vote, and it's always posted. And there never seems to be coming in. They don't seem to be coming in on a Saturday, which is unfortunate, because I would have thought that that was a good way to have the people come in to vote. It's too bad that the town election is not as busy as the presidential or the primary, because this affects us directly. And it's important that we get out and share our opinions.
Okay. Thank you. And finally, Renee?
To answer the first part of the question concerning the same-day registration, it's an incredible amount of work, which is absolutely worth it. To get people out to vote, if they wait until the last minute to register and have to come to the polls, we do apologize that if they do wait, there are lines. There were over 2,000 people that registered the last presidential election. And there are lines, and we do have a good amount of people working for us to keep those lines moving steadily. As for the rest of the question, we have sessions Saturdays and Tuesdays that are required by laws before the elections. It's a half-hour session that we would open up if anyone happens to show up to register. But they can register with the town clerk any hours they're open, including the Wednesday, which is 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that registration continues to encourage more registration before the presidential, and sometimes before the presidential primary. We will go to the high schools, we go to Pinkerton Academy, we go to the rest homes, the retirement, Birch Heights on occasion, Birch Heights, on those occasions, as well as Pleasant Valley, the nursing homes. We reach out with absentees for the nursing homes. We assist them in an absentee request, and then the absentee ballots are given to them by the town clerk, and they're able to vote. So there are a lot of ways that we're already working to encourage more voters to come out and to work, to do their duty.
Great. Thank you, Renee. And next question comes from Kathy.
I don't have anything.
Kathy, coming up short. Any other follow-up questions from the panel?
I don't think so.
Okay. Ladies, would you like to make a brief closing statement?
I would really appreciate the vote because I've gone to the training and I would like to finish my husband's 4-year term. Thank you very much.
I do encourage everybody to come out and vote. I found an interesting quote in the recent Derry News editorial that said, quoted Abraham Lincoln. He said, "Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they turn their backs to the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters." And I definitely don't want the town to have to sit on their blisters. Thank you.
I'm running for supervisor of the checklist. I would appreciate your vote. Most importantly, I would appreciate if you come out and vote. The average percentage that comes out to the town election is 10 to 15%. We'd really like to increase that. These are the people that represent you, that help to form your taxes, that are responsible for building Derry to the point that you would like to have it. So we'd really like you to come out and vote, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I'd like to thank all the candidates who have been with us for this forum. I'd like to thank our panel of questioners, and I'd like to make a big plea for everyone who is watching to come out and vote. It's an important part of your franchise. Again, it's in March 11th, which is always a Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And again, the voting places by district are Districts 1 and 3 at the Pinkerton Academy Gymnasium, District 2 at the Calvary Bible Church, and District 4 at the Gilbert H. Hood Middle School. So please come out and vote. And again, thank you for watching. This has been Candidates Forum 2014, which is a public affairs presentation of Derry Community Television. All the opinions expressed are those of the candidates and not necessarily of the town or the cable TV station. I'm Dave Nelson, your moderator. Thank you.